Journey Church, on Sunday we made the announcement that after years of waiting, dreaming and praying, it is officially ours. We as Journey Church own 6.2 hectares of land on which to build a place that we can call home. In my message on Sunday, I broke down a bit about what has happened building up to this point and what our future looks like. And so enjoy this and be sure to wait till the end. You will be led to a very special video that we've prepared, a history of our church over the past 12 years.
Okay? This is our story. This is not our story, this is collectively our story. And so you'll see, we just want to hand out a small booklet to each of you. But isn't your heart stirred to realize that you and I are a part of something so much bigger than ourselves? And it really is something celebrating. You know, I had the thought yesterday that we are good news people, aren't we? Christians, we are good news people. And this is good news that we are celebrating today. Something so special. I did the maths, in fact. The launch of our church as One Way Community Church back then, February 2012 was in fact the 12th of February. I worked it out to date. Today, this morning, it's 12 years, 2 months, and 23 days to be exact. All in all, 4,466 days of God building strong. Give Him praise, eh? And we just continue to trust that by God's grace, as we strive to build strong, that we will see our children's children benefit from our labor. And so that little booklet you can familiarize yourself with. You can take it home. And if none of you own property personally, today you have a title deed, okay? And you can say, I own property with my church, okay? And something just small to hold on to. And so I think maybe what helps is just, this morning's very practical. I would just like to contextualize some of what's going on for us. And the reason we did faith 2 weeks ago was really to prepare us for the news today, because let me tell you that this is not a building project, this is a faith project. This is not a building project, this is a faith project. And so a few comments on the land. I can't possibly squeeze everything into one conversation this morning, but you need to know that we paid for this land in cash. In cash. Thank God. We actually, at the end of the day, the lawyers paid us money back. And so we thank God for that. But the one town planner that we have been working with quite closely is connected to someone in our board. He said at the time we paid 1.5 million for the land. And he said, compared to the other properties and just the location, he said, if you get that property at 1.5 million, you have struck a gold mine. And so for the town planner to have said that, we thought, well, we don't know. We just happened to land here. And so thank God for leading us to that. The discussion was in the beginning, how could we possibly utilize 6.2 hectares of land? You've got to understand, we know of a church that has got a 3,500 seater auditorium that's built on 2.5 hectares. Okay, now it gives you scale of how big 6.2 hectares is. We're not going to build that big, but I just want to offer some perspective for you. There was the option in the beginning to subdivide the property into 8 portions. We take the major half one, but it just didn't work out. And by God's grace, we ended up just getting all of it at that price, which is really a steal. Interestingly enough, there's some exciting developments happening around the property. One of them is a private school. Just across the road from us, there's an owner, a developer. He's got, I think, 7 stands. He's got rights to build like in a retirement village or something. Not sure if the plans are going to go through, or the build will go through. I think the plans are approved. That is being sold at 100 million. Okay, so just like we are well positioned, okay? So we thank God for that. So some of the locations, you think, Andrew, where is this? Let me tell you, if you go out of our gate, 2 left, 5 kilometers, and you're there. So like, it's not that far. You don't have to put in extra hours to get to church in the morning. I think a big benefit for us with choosing properties is obviously location. We don't buy for now, we buy for like the next 50 to 100 years. We've got to think like that. And so obviously it is ideally located in the Mid-Val municipality. If you know anything, that's good news. It was recently jointly rated as the most financially stable municipality for the 3rd consecutive year in a row. They don't know what load shedding is. Someone in Rensburg load shedding, they'll look at you funny, okay? So there are some benefits. It is obviously a very established community. There's families. There are, as I mentioned, other exciting developments. One of them is a private school, just 2 properties up from us. And so if you understand the lie of the land, just under us, that way is the Vol River, that way is Heidelberg, that way CBD. And so the town can really only grow up towards Mid-Vol. And so we're hoping that in 10, 15 years, we're going to be wrapped in, perfectly located for God to minister to his people. When we obviously had to consult with Gautrans about roads and what you can do and can't do on this property, they told us that they've got a 50 to 100-year plan where if you see the main road that curves and then there's along that long farm, it's a dirt road. If you carry on all the way up with that one, it reaches the R59 highway. They want to bring a road from the R59 along there, and it meets up at Four Ways Garage. And so long term, we'll be on a corner. And so location will be highly visible. If that happens in our lifetime, we don't know, but we have to honor that. And so we really, I can't tell you how many agents I saw, how many things we looked at online. It was like countless. But when this one came up, there was just something different about it. And how we got led there was something interesting. So our plans, number one, we're writing them in pencil. We can't tell you today exactly what the future holds, but what we do know is our plan, and we're going to allow God to lead us, is we want to just build a 600-seater auditorium with a complimentary 200-seater auditorium to accommodate kids. This is just for visual purposes for you. You're thinking, Andrew, that's a large number. It's not, in fact. Last week, we're 436 people across our 3 services currently. And so to build that may even be a bit small for us, just projecting our growth. As you sit now, there's 165 chairs on the floor. All of them are occupied. There's people standing. And so 600 is a relative figure for us to eventually house everyone in one building. Who's looking forward to that? I want to preach once on a Sunday. Now, we can do a third service if we have to, but I really think the dynamic of our church will shift when we are all together, and we're not being built in different spaces. So next to that would obviously include a cafe, office spaces. We're thinking many things that would be beneficial for us. So we're thinking of a prayer chapel where we would allow people to come and have quiet times and maybe retreats. It's a wedding venue, events hall, etc. And really for it to be a multi-purpose community space, that we wouldn't be selfish and hold this to ourselves, but open it to the community. And so we're thinking of perhaps having sports facilities. We're just dreaming, we're just thinking. And so, as we said, we'll write in pencil and God can lead us from there. We have obviously formed a separate interim board for this because I can't make all these decisions myself. I'm wise enough to know that. And so we've got experienced professionals on team. We're also consulting within our group and other churches across the country to say, help us. Get us to think right. What should we do? What shouldn't we do? Some of you have paid the school fees. Help us out. And so we're also going to invite ad hoc consultants in when necessary with regards to building or supplies, etc. And so please know that I'm not winging this thing, and we'll have this building that sits skew like this at the end of the day. The right people are there. We've obviously engaged with an architect. They've given us a 6-stage plan. We only pay for each stage as we go along. If for any reason the contract is terminated, we don't owe them that money. It's only up until the stage that was complete. And so just a few details. So who's with me thinking, Andrew, this is a mammoth task? I'll put my hand up first. It is, but let me say that's how God gets glorified, is when the impossible becomes possible. It doesn't seem relative. It's like, how can that actually happen now? How are we going to do that? Well, God will make it happen. I've been going through the book of Haggai. We, even in our evening services, chose to walk through the book of Haggai. You can join us tonight just to shift your thinking in this season. But some context for the book of Haggai is obviously Solomon built the first temple, and there's the Babylonian exile. The Israelites get taken out of their homeland, Jerusalem. There's a small remnant that starts returning, and they are commissioned by God to rebuild the temple, the second temple. They get a bit lazy, and God comes and he sends the prophet Haggai. And it's a book about building, and it reveals God's heart for building. God is a builder. God is a builder, and we need to have that heart as well. And so this book is actually about a matter of priority. He challenges them as a nation. He says, give careful thought to your ways. Give careful thought to your ways. And they were guilty. It says that they were so interested in building their fine paneled houses while the house of God remained in ruins. And he says, get your priorities straight. God says, I will bless you. Jesus echoes it, Matthew 6, seek first the kingdom. And then all these things. So many times you and I, we put our lives and our agendas ahead of God's. And we've just got to say, in this context, what does that mean for us? Will we prioritize what God wants us to do? Haggai says this. It's a call to build the house of the Lord. Then Haggai, the Lord's messenger, gave this message to the Lord, message of the Lord to the people. I am with you. Okay, that's good news for us. I am with you, declares the Lord. So the Lord stirred up the spirit of Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, and the spirit of Joshua, son of Jozadak, the high priest, and the spirit of the whole remnant of the people. They came and began to work on the house of the Lord Almighty, their God, on the 24th day of the 6th month. In the next chapter, we find God say this to them, the silver is mine and the gold is mine, declares the Lord Almighty. And so what we learn from this is, number one, God initiates his building projects and he funds them. That's good news for me. He initiated it and he still funds it. And it's no different for us today. And so all of us should willingly, that's important, willingly and sacrificially give however we can to this future project. But more than that, we're going to have to trust God that he's going to do the miraculous. That most of what we need won't come from this room. That's my sincere conviction. All of us are going to give what we can. We're going to give responsibly. We're going to give sacrificially. But we are going to see God do something that he gets the glory in. It's the same story as Gideon. Gideon had a strong army of 32,000 men. God says, off you go. But he says, sorry, Gideon, your army is too big. I need you to minimize. And so he minimizes. He says, no, it's still too big. And eventually God cuts the army from 32,000 men to 300. And God says this, Judges 7. God says to them, the Lord said to Gideon, you have too many warriors with you. If I let all of you fight the Midianites, the Israelites will boast to me and say that they saved themselves by their own strength. God wanted the glory. He said, I'm not going to give that credit to you and your men. Gideon, I want the glory. So I'm going to do a miracle with 300 men. And I feel that's going to be our story with this building project as well. And it's a faith journey. It's not a building project. Please just keep that in mind. It's not so much a building project. It's a faith journey. We recently had a meeting with the interim board just to discuss some plans with the property. And we had some time. We were just praying for the property and the project going ahead. And one of the board members said this in prayer. I wrote it down. He said, why would God lay this on our hearts only for nothing to happen? He said it, and it just struck me. I went home and I quickly journaled it because I thought, is our God a God that teases? That he would plan and send us here, and after all these years, take us there and say, all right, now you're not going to have it. Would he do that? I don't think that's his heart, and it was a special time in our prayer moment. Another one of our board members have said that this project is going to be a million little miracles. Not just one big miracle, someone gave us all the money we need. No, it's miracle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we've seen those miracles. I can't tell you how many little things, as small as a local farmer just down the road that was sent to us, and he has offered to cut the grass at a nominal fee. It's huge. It's a lot of diesel, trust me. And he's quoted us, and he cut once. He'll probably have to cut again soon, but next to nothing. We saw the agents step aside. We've seen people get involved. I didn't tell the story in the first service. We had made an offer of 1.5 million on the land, and apparently a group of men came not long after us, a few months, I think, and they made an offer of 4.5 million. We're like, take it. If it was my property, I would take 4.5 over 1.5 million. And eventually that ended up being a scam. And the owners of the property said, you know what, from the beginning, they knew they should have sold to us. But they were misled, thinking money, money, money. The whole thing fell apart, and they came back to us saying, we should have just kept it and honored you. And so it was God securing it for us. But the devil tried to come steal, kill, and destroy. And so, I think it is overwhelming to think, we're going to do all of this at once. Not a chance. It's going to have to be broken up into stages. And so we've done this over the years. If you looked at those pictures in the video, it was in 22. We put up a security fence. We redid the roof. That was a cost of, I think, 135,000 Rand combined. We did it. It seemed big at the time, but we did it. Last year, end of the year, we said we needed to do a sound upgrade. Some of us fell off our chairs when we heard the sound. It's 5 months down the line. You're alive. The speakers are working, and we made it. And so we have to think stages, not once off. And so a few practical things that we need to do going forward. These are mentioned in your little booklet. If you wanted to have a look on the second page inside, is we need to do a perimeter fencing. So I know that the fence outside is 50 meters. The fence on the new property is 1 kilometer. So you can just imagine the figures. I don't want to scare you today. We also need to do the municipal engineering services. This is required. We have to, just to connect the 3-phase electricity. Fortunately, we won't get a municipal water supply, and so it's going to be borehole, filter systems, etc. Obviously, building, we'd like to go as green as possible, solar. And so the 3-phase really is just an optional extra for us. Hopefully, we never have to use it. And then I think very importantly is ongoing prayer. Ongoing prayer. We believe the scriptures. James says prayer has great power and brings about wonderful results. So if we want results in a building project, it means that you and I all have to be praying. So in your prayer time, just lift it up. God bless our project. God lead us. God help me to know how you want me to be involved in what is happening. And so, are you excited? So, obviously today, for those who feel led, you want to give. There's going to be so many ways that we can give going forward. Obviously, finances are a big help at this stage. Later on, we're going to open up the conversation as to how you can possibly offer your professional services. Maybe you know someone, everyone knows a guy. And so we would like to start letting it be our project. And so we can all have some ownership there. So if you would like, we have included a banking details card, but no, really, don't rush. Sit on it. And God, what can we give? What can I give toward this? Ongoing. So 1 Chronicles 29, you actually find in the beginning, when they build the first temple, David, he hands it to his son Solomon. I love what David says. David says, who am I and who are my people that we can give as generously as this? Everything we give comes only from your hand. You and I don't give back to God. It's what is ours. It's His. And it just goes from His hand to our hand, back to His hand. And it's a privilege and an opportunity to be involved in what God is doing. And so please prayerfully consider that. You need to know this, that the building is not the goal of our church. It is a goal in the life of our church. We don't want to build a building and say, yes, we've arrived. And then what? No, it's only one goal in the journey of our church. And so the main thing is going to be kept the main thing. We want to see multitudes of people reach their God-given destiny. A building really just nurtures that. It helps incubate that. And so please don't think that's the end goal. It only houses the work of God. And so I'm going to invite the band up. We're going to close in a song and we're going to pray, commit this and ourselves to God in prayer in just a moment. I will say that I'm sure there's lots of questions. You've got comments, you've got suggestions, and we're happy to even take complaints. And so we're a family. And so you can please, in writing, because to try and do all of this in personal conversation could be overwhelming to try and explain all the details to everyone. So we can slowly process some of your comments, questions, suggestions, and complaints. If you would just kindly mail them at this stage to hello@jchurchsa.co.za. You can also find that on our website. But we're good news people, hey? We're good news people, and we celebrate what God has done, what He is doing, and what He is still going to do. And as we read in the book of Haggai, the Lord is with us. The Lord is with us. And that is good news for us. That's a relief. And so may He grace our efforts to build strong. I want us to close our eyes, bow our heads, open our hearts this morning as I close in prayer. Lord, today we rejoice in our salvation and in your vision and mission for your church. We are specifically thankful for your Spirit at work in Journey Church over the past 4,466 days. It is by your grace that we find ourselves here today, our lives woven into your story of eternity. We ask that you stir up our spirits to partner with you as co-workers, to build what matters most to you, your church. May we see your kingdom come and your will be done. Increase our faith to believe that you will see this project through to completion. Shape this church to be a hub for kingdom come, where we will see multitudes of people reach their God-given destiny for generations to come. Amen.